Hey guys, it's Hoagie. Welcome back to my channel. I have a story for you, and it was a little bit of a scary story. And I'm okay. I'm perfectly fine. There was no danger. I'm good. I just am probably going to change my behavior because of this story. And I thought you might want to, hear about it. I got new glasses. Can you tell? Can you tell they're different? Like this is different and this is different. And also, look at how thick they are. Look at that. This one is huge, man. Like, they're bifocals too. Like, I already have like genetically predisposed awful vision. And now I need bifocals. I'm 29 and I need bifocals. Like, it's whatever. It helps. But it takes some getting used to because there's a line here. There's a line. And so, like, when I look down, sometimes I'm in the bifocal and sometimes I'm not. And I have to hold my phone up higher. And it's been 2-3 days. I'm getting used to it. But also they're not like, this ear is higher than this ear, so they look kind of crooked. I need to have them taken into an actual Walmart and like adjusted because I got these online, so they weren't actually adjusted by a human being. Anyway, I'm gonna get that done and hopefully I'll look better next week. I want to preface this by saying that I am not a medical professional. I am not a doctor or a nurse or a medical billing specialist or freaking anything. I am just a person. I'm just a person. So what has happened to me has affected my behavior, but it doesn't mean that you should change your behavior. It doesn't mean that what you're doing is right or wrong. You should do what your doctor says. If your doctor tells you to do something, then you should do it. The thing I'm talking about is aspirating. Now, when injecting testosterone, or really any intramuscular injection, once you get it in the skin, you're like supposed to, well, the original medical consensus was this is what you're supposed to do. You pull back on the plunger to see if there's any blood coming up from the needle. Because if you get some blood, you might have gone into a major blood vessel. And if that happens, then what you're injecting will go straight into your blood immediately, and that's usually not what you want. And for testosterone, it's also really bad because testosterone is suspended in oil, and if you get oil in your bloodstream, it can really mess with you. It can potentially kill you. Like, worst case scenario, you can die, but like, it's a very bad thing. So you want to make sure that that doesn't happen. So a lot of doctors and nurses, when they instruct trans patients to like give them their testosterone, they say, you should pull back on the needle. You should, on the syringe, you should make sure that there's no blood in there, because then you'll be perfectly fine. If there's no blood, if there is blood, take it out, put it in somewhere else, like, just to be safe. I was not taught that. I was told that it was unnecessary, that if you're doing it in the quad, that there's a very low chance of hitting anything. There's not really any major blood vessels in like the middle of your thigh, like 1.5 inches deep. So it's perfectly fine to not do it. You're not going to be in any danger. I hear that if you do it like in the glute, there's more danger to like hit a major blood vessel, so you should aspirate. But like, I do mine in the leg, and I haven't done it. It's been over 2 months, and I've never aspirated, and I've been perfectly fine. So this last Monday, like every Monday, I inject myself, and I got everything prepared, and I had everything spread out, and I cleaned things, and I drew up the liquid, and I put the needle in, and it stung a little. It does that sometimes. I wasn't worried. I waited a couple seconds because the nurse did say that, instead of aspirating, you can wait a couple seconds and see if any blood trickles up into the syringe, because if it does that, then that means you potentially hit something big. So I wait a couple seconds, and I waited, and nothing was coming up. So I injected, and it stung a little, and that's normal. And I was like, okay, I'm good. And then I do the ZTrack method, where you pull on the skin and then inject it to keep it from leaking out. And I did that, and I left the needle in for a little bit longer because I hear that that can help. If you leave the needle in for like 10 seconds after you inject, it can make sure that it settles into the tissue so that it's less likely to leak out, because I'm very paranoid about that. If you remember, like my very first injection, I swear like it all leaked out, and I was super depressed about it for a week. So I've been able to make sure that that doesn't happen anymore. So I was doing everything normally, and then it was done, so I pulled the needle out, and it started bleeding a lot. Not anything, not with any pressure, not like spurting or anything, but like it was dribbling and leaking and going down my leg. And I was like, oh shit, oh shit. So I grabbed my gauze and I pressed down on it really hard. And I'm convinced that I hit a blood vessel, because I know that you're not supposed to do that, and why else would it be bleeding? And I'm like, oh God, do I need to call 911? Should I do that? Like, am I going to lose the ability to talk soon? Should I call them now? Should I call poison control? What am I supposed to do? And I'm like, well, my phone is right here. Let me check my phone. I grab my phone one-handedly. I'm still pressing on the wound, and I'm looking up, what happens if your intramuscular injection site bleeds, testosterone injection bleeding. I didn't aspirate. I specifically figured that, like, oh God, I should have aspirated, because I knew that that was like something that could happen if you don't aspirate. And I was like, oh God, I fucked up. I should have aspirated. And they said that I ended up on an FTM subreddit, and the person had asked basically the same question. And they were told by multiple people the same thing, that like, unless you start coughing like uncontrollably and your heart starts pounding like immediately up to like 5 minutes after it happens, like you will know if you got it in a blood vessel, because you will start being immediately affected. You will start coughing, your heart will start pounding, and then you should like call 911. But if you're not having those symptoms, then you didn't get it into a major blood vessel and you're going to be fine. And I was like, sick, okay, I'm going to be okay. It's great, but why am I bleeding? And so I did more research, and it said that I probably nicked a capillary on the way in, and it didn't start bleeding until the pressure of the needle was taken out. And that I would probably end up with a bruise, either internally or like you'd be able to see it, and that I was gonna be okay. And I checked it. By that time I checked the bleeding, and it had stopped bleeding. I was able to put a band-aid on it, and when I took the band-aid off like 6 hours later, there was only a little point of blood, so it wasn't anything serious. I was fine. It was just suddenly there's a lot of blood, and you freak out when there's a lot of blood, because the blood is supposed to be in your body and not out of your body, you know what I mean? So I was a lot less stressed out about it. I was like, okay, I'm all right. It's okay. I took care of everything. I put the needle in the sharps container. I cleaned up. I went downstairs, and I could feel like an aching in my leg, like more than usual. And I was like, oh great, I'm gonna have a bruise. That was Monday. It's Saturday. I still don't have like an outward bruise, but if I feel in that location, it's a little sore. So there's probably like an internal bruise. But the moral of the story is I'm probably going to start aspirating, just because there's no danger in doing it. There's no harm in doing it. It's just not necessarily necessary. So I'm probably going to start doing it. I would have to do it one-handed, because I do the ZTrack method and I have to hold the skin. I'll see if I can pull up on the plunger one-handed. If I can, I will start doing it, and I'll let you guys know next week if I do it. If I can't do it, then I will just be extra careful, and I will look out for blood. And I feel like I would be a lot less stressed out if I aspirated every time, even if there's like no chance of me hitting a blood vessel, just so that if I do pull out the needle and it does start bleeding, I will know for a fact that I did not get it into my bloodstream, and I'm gonna be okay. Just because I'm a little ball of anxiety, man, and anything I can do to be a little less stressed is worth it. Now, again, I'm not saying that you should change your behavior. I'm not saying that you should do something that your doctor has told you not to do. I'm not saying that, like, if your doctor tells you to aspirate, that you should stop doing it, or if your doctor told you don't have to, that you should, just because this happened to me. I would love to hear your stories, though. You know, if something similar has happened to you, what did you do? How did you feel? How did you deal with it? I'd love to know. But me personally, this is what I'm personally gonna do to feel safer, to feel more comfortable. Because the pain doesn't really bother me. I get like a really thick antipsychotic injection. It's thick, and so it has to go in really slowly, and it stings when it goes in, and it feels like my arm is exploding, and like I'm used to it. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. If it hurts a little bit more, it's not a big deal. So that's what I'm gonna start doing, and I hope it relieves my anxiety. I hope it helps me, because I really don't want to be constantly afraid if I bleed that something awful happened. But also I want to be safe, you know? I don't want to hit a big blood vessel. I want to be okay. That's about it. That's my story. That's what happened. Like I said, I'll let you guys know next week what I ended up doing and how it went. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, consider liking and subscribing. I put out new videos every week, and I will see you guys next week. Bye. Mwah.